This project was designed in Lightburn, and it takes 3 minutes to 4 minutes to cut on your laser, and you can cut it on all type of laser. Once cut, you want to sand your pieces. I sand mine smooth on the surface because I want to remove my residue marks since I don't use masking tape. But it's a good idea anyway to sand the back of the back and the back of the front. The wheel, you absolutely don't want to sand the inner piece, but I do recommend that you sand both sides of the wheel very good, because you want to remove just a tiny bit of material to have it slide better when it's counting down. Take a brush and wipe off all the dust. For my pumpkin, I wanted to have a little 3D dimensional look, so I'm also rounding the edges with my sander, which took about 1 additional minute to do, so that's easy as well. I use a lot of different paint techniques when I'm painting my countdowns and everything else, but I really love to paint with watercolor, especially when I have these more realistic designs. So I'll show you how to paint the pumpkin. I'll not be showing you how to paint the bagger because this one is already brown. This one I want to keep natural on the back, so I have 2 different options. But let's get to it. So you need some water paint. This is just cheap water paint from my local supermarket, grocery store, whatever. And you obviously want some water as well. I'll be painting the pumpkin here, and once I'm done painting, I'll show you how to assemble your countdown. So you did see that I rounded the edges. I didn't do that on the other pumpkin, so you might see the difference between them. And I really love to round the edges and stuff like this that will be layered, because it will give it a more 3D dimension to it. But painting is easy. You just pick a orange kind of color. I'll just go ahead and grab the darkest, and you just apply it. So the watercolor will automatically give you a little difference in color and shades, which will make it look even more realistic than if you used acrylic paints. And I really love that. So once you have your color in, you just let it dry for a second. I'll just add a little more if I feel like it didn't color enough. And since you have these scored lines, watercolor is brilliant as well, because it will not hide the scored marks, and you'll still be able to see these details. I think I'm going to switch to another flat brush. You can use any type of brushes, but I find that the soft round brushes are easier to color the details with, and then you can use a flat brush and just go in to these lines. Just needs to take in some color, and you can see how it will create, if I can get some color on it, it will create this kind of shade around it. And you don't have to be precise. If you mess up, you can just take a finger and kind of smudge it to where you want the other color here to go. And this is not dry yet, so I'm still painting these lines on top of my already wet color. And now that you have kind of an indication on the details, you can go in and add some more colors and details by maybe using a lighter orange and just kind of highlight the middle, and maybe even go across these sides as well. And now I would just let this dry and see what it will look like once it's dry, and then I'll go in and add some more details. So it's really easy. This took around a minute or two. So for the stem, you can paint it whatever color you like as well. I'll try this reddish brown color. And that's pretty much it. You could take a darker brown or a black. Oops. And you could then add in some more details on the stem as well. Maybe take some black even, just to go over these edges. And now it's just a matter of letting it dry. So that's the pumpkin, easy peasy. For the rest of the ornaments, I want to make my mouth black inside it, just like this. So I'll just take a black Sharpie. I don't worry about it over flooding because I have these scored lines that won't stop the paint or color. And also I'm not painting all the way to the edges. I only need to paint the back where the mouth will go. Like this. And you could even take a lighter color and make it maybe orange or yellow inside. I actually think I might want to do that on this one. So I'll just let it dry and then I'll show you how. For the lever, I used acrylic paint marker. This is a light gray. So you just go across it. And don't put pressure when you're going over the little rest in peace engraving. And I'll take a darker gray and just carefully go over the scored edge here. So it now looks 3D dimensional. If you're using the ornaments bagger, it has a magnet bagger and an ornament bagger. I would suggest that you paint the top of the hanger. I just use some metallic markers. I'll drop links below on everything so you can find them as well. And the back I painted brown. I didn't go in and made the same details as this one. The wheel here I also painted with watercolor, and that's pretty much it. So I'll have my Sharpie. I think it might be dry already. So let's see. I have some bigger markers here. And the great thing about this is that you can always change colors if you're not satisfied with the first one. This is a pretty old marker, which explains why it makes this mess. So I'll just go in and take a brush and just kind of paint it by hand. Let's just see how it looks. If it looks like a mess, I can always go back and paint it black once again. I don't really like this. I think I'll go for a darker orange. I'll play a little around with this, but you don't have to waste your time on it. So let's move this aside and I'll show you how to assemble it. A great thing is that if you save these inner pieces, you can add them as decorations anywhere on your pumpkin or below here. Or you could just toss them. That's entirely up to you. Also, the inner parts of the pumpkin you could keep, and you could then paint these black instead. And once you have that, you could pop it back in. And then you'll have a flat design. But I honestly like it better that it's a that you have the grooves inside the pumpkin. But that's up to you as well. So you can use this and make it as however you like. To assemble, that's really easy. It might look a little complicated, but it isn't. So when you get the found, you'll have the bagger with a hanger or a round magnet bagger. You'll have the wheel and you'll have the front and the pumpkin. So what you want to do is to sand everything like I showed you. Make sure that you don't sand this inner piece, because you always want your wheel to be just a tiny bit thinner than this round part in the middle. So if your sanding isn't enough, you have to add some additional material just to make it a tiny bit thicker. And by tiny, I mean using a piece of cardboard or something like that, just to give it a little more thickness. What I do is that I use a stapler like this. I then use super glue and wood glue. I usually only use wood glue, but for these tutorials I like to add a little super glue as well, so it will dry a little faster. So you take your bagger and you place your wheel on top. Take the inner piece here. And if you don't staple, you would add glue to the bottom. But be very careful that you don't get glue stuck to the wheel, because then the wheel will not move. Since I'm using a stapler, I'll just add a few staples. Like this. And you might see how it will lift my material just a tiny bit. But the staples are actually enough to do the lifting that you need. Then you add some glue. And the reason that I recommend wood glue for this is that if you just use the super glue, it would just soak into the wood and it wouldn't be able to glue well together because you have the staples. So make sure to use some glue that will not soak into the wood but dry as is. And then you could always add a few drops of super glue if you want it to dry extra fast. So then you take your wheel here, or your front, sorry, and you align the candy to the hanger. If you're using the magnet bagger, you don't have a hanger to align it to, and you can just place it and make sure that it's aligned with these sides. Take note that the pumpkin does have a little offset on the front, so you don't want to align on that, but everything else. Then you take some clamps and you then just wait for it to dry. After it's dry, you can go ahead and add your pumpkin on top of your ornament and you're ready to go. Once everything is dry and you glue the top on, you give your lever a nice turn just to see if it is spinning as it's supposed to. For this one, you just need to add a little string. And for the other, which I failed to mention, for the magnet version, which I honestly, instead of keeping neutral, I painted it with my watercolor, so it's now blue. Also, I went back to the black. But for the magnet version, I find that these 3M patches, these are round and they came with these pretty, very strong magnets that I bought from Amazon and have linked in the description. You could also even use these 3M tapes to make the distance between the layers. But besides that, you just add them on the magnet. Let's see if my bag is dry. It is, so I can show you. So you just pull off the tape like this, place it on your magnet like that, and you then take off the other side of the tape and place it somewhere in the middle like that. And then you could assemble. It wasn't dry enough, it took off my paint. So, but once you have it in place, you just assemble this one the same way. All my files are set in my Etsy shop and allstarsdesign.com. Feel free to take a look. Also, if you're interested in my other countdowns, I have a gazillion also for Christmas, or just want to see my videos on how to make them, you can take a look at my YouTube channel. And please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more. I hope to see you soon.